The thing the establishment wants is status quo. They want to maintain their position of power. All the policies that they implement to control our media, our education, our financial system, our healthcare system, they're all techniques to address a pain caused from their control. And so they're constantly trying to just fill the gap so that they can maintain the status quo and placate people. And then they have to keep diluting and diluting and diluting the system in order to keep placating and stretching it a little bit further. That's like the big picture agenda. And in order to achieve that outcome, anything is justifiable. Right now, America, the dollar reserve status, that is the status quo that must be protected at all costs. Yes,
they must continue to control the petrodollar.
That's the new world order that right. Won last. We've turned every person on the planet into a slave of the U.S. economy. It's indefensible. So anyone who wants to be their own person has to resist it.
Okay, day 2 of Bitcoin Amsterdam conference. I'm here with Mr. David Bailey, the CEO and co-founder of BTC Inc., an industry leader and evangelist for decentralized future. Since 2013, BTC Inc. has grown to offer intelligence services, brand building expertise, and technical incubation for the Bitcoin ecosystem, as well as the Bitcoin magazine and the Bitcoin conferences. One of them we're in now. So David, we had a little chat now, so I get to know you a little bit more, and I love your vibe.
Thank you for having me on your podcast.
No, thank you for agreeing to speak to me. And I want to start with your background of how you got to BTC Inc. and to the whole Bitcoin world.
Yep.
And then we'll jump into harder questions.
Yeah, I mean, so how I got started, I had a friend send me an article about Bitcoin. I thought Bitcoin was a scam immediately, and I have a personality where, like, if think something's a scam, I'm going to try to point it out why it's a scam. And I had a list of reasons why Bitcoin could never work.
Yeah.
And then one by one, I worked my way through the list as I'm doing more research, and then it sucks you in. It's a deep rabbit hole. So I get to the point where, I don't know why this couldn't work. I couldn't tell you why it wouldn't, for sure wouldn't work. And then I'm like, okay, if this has a 1 in a million chance of success, times the total value of everything, because that's the market it's disrupting, it's like, okay, the price of one Bitcoin is astronomical, so I should buy, even if it's 1 in a million.
Yep.
And so I'm in college. That's about $10 per Bitcoin.
Which year?
2012. Mm-hmm. 2012. Mm-hmm. This was my senior year.
What's the price then?
$10.
$10.
Roughly.
$10.
Yeah, and I thought I was late. I thought I was too late to buy. All these other people are buying at a penny. I'm buying at $10 like a sucker. But so I did it. And then the first bull market kicked off. And I'm in college. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my, I've ever even seen, I ever even knew existed, basically. For 4 months. I basically drop out of school. And then my first bear market comes.
What were you studying, by the way?
Finance, economics.
All right.
So I'd always been a finance nerd.
Yeah.
But so the first bear market comes and I lose 80% of my money in a day, because the bear markets back then, it's not like this where it's little by little every day. It's just
sharp.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And so it's okay, is this real? Is this not real? I'm going to go to this Bitcoin conference that's happening. It was the first ever Bitcoin conference called Bitcoin 2013, which is actually the inspiration for our events.
What we see now, yeah.
And I went and I met the smartest people I had ever met in my life. And these were people that were called in sick to work, maybe Google engineers or Adobe engineers. They're faking sick. They're faking a funeral so they can sneak out from work to go to this Bitcoin conference because they don't want to tell their employer that they're into Bitcoin because it's very sketchy at the time.
Yeah.
And they're working on this for free. And it was okay, anything that can attract brilliant people to work on it for free, has staying power. You know, like there's the vision can be built upon. So that's when I decided to go all in on Bitcoin and dedicate 100% of my focus and time on Bitcoin. And that was May of 2013. And then I've been on this roller coaster ever since, making every mistake you can possibly make, but surviving.
With great pleasure, I'd like to introduce my sponsors. They help me fulfill my mission of spreading truth, freedom, and sovereignty. You're the Voice is brought to you by Trezor, the original Bitcoin hardware wallet company pioneering the development of self-custody for crypto assets since 2013, empowering individuals with an open-source device, enabling beginners and experts to easily and securely hold their coins. I find my Trezor super easy to use and recommend it to my friends and family. Enjoy my 5% discount on Trezor products by clicking the link in the show notes and using the code AFLAT. Next up is Bitcoin Nashville. If you're like me, sick of the globalists and central banks robbing you blind through excessive money printing, you need to be at Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville. This July, the largest Bitcoin conference in the world will shed light on monetary freedom with a glimmer of hope among a darkening reality of centralized power and control. Top speakers and companies will gather in Nashville to take part in building a new reality. I'll be there too, speaking and interviewing. Head over to my link in the notes for a 10% discount using the code BTCIL. And finally, BTC Prague, the biggest, most influential Bitcoin event in Europe, coming up on June 13th with 100 speakers on 4 stages, 100 Bitcoin companies presenting at the expo, and 10,000 like-minded Bitcoiners and freedom lovers from all around the world. I'm excited to attend for the first time as a speaker. I'll be speaking about CBDCs, interviewing other speakers, learning about Bitcoin, and meeting the best and brightest in the industry. The event runs for 3 days with a rich program from pitching contests to panels, presentations, and parties. I'd love to meet you in Prague. Use my code for a 10% discount.
And
Including alternative
oh
coins?
yeah, I've done it all. It's, you know, Bitcoin is like an intellectual journey. So I actually think that people who say they have it all figured out, especially people who haven't been in it that long, like maybe only 2 years or 3 years, like they're just very early in their the journey, and they're going to come full circle on their journey. So anyway, that's how I started, and then I interviewed to be employee number 1 at Coinbase, and they only had enough money to hire one person, and the other guy got the job. And I'm like, okay, well, F you guys. Like, if you're going to start a company, I'm going to start a company.
Well done. You're an entrepreneur.
So I started a media company, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I just failed forward. So
and that was
here we are.
BTC?
Yeah, well, at the time,
it
was we created a magazine called Why Bitcoin, and the goal of the magazine was to answer the same questions that everyone had. What is Bitcoin? How do I buy it? Where can I spend it? What is mining? It's like 10 questions. And we tried to just get the 10 best responses possible to those questions and put it in a magazine and distribute it. It was a horrible business model, honestly, but I was too naive to know. So that's how I got started. And then because I had innovative tactics like responding to email and answering the phone, that made me stand out. Yeah, and we started
like you were a proper
like a
business
real thing,
person
yeah.
and a human being. Yeah, okay.
Which in the industry at that time, if you had that,
it was rare.
You were already, you know. So we started building a Rolodex of companies that did marketing with us.
Yeah.
And then little by little, as we figured out what we were doing and what our customers wanted.
And your model, your business model.
Yeah, we started getting more media companies. I ended up buying Bitcoin Magazine from Vitalik Buterin and in 2014. And Bitcoin Magazine is the original source of information on Bitcoin. In my opinion, it's like a religious text. It's like the first time and the only place that some of the most important stories in Bitcoin's genesis were covered. So great honor to buy that publication. And then, of course, Vitalik goes and does Ethereum. And so we were very close to that whole scene, the Ethereum, ICOs. So we got into crypto. A bunch of the Israelis, they all made their bread and butter
I know.
They all started in Bitcoin, then they all get into crypto.
Yes.
Anyway, so go down the crypto journey. In like 2017,
There was so many ICOs in 2017 that I remember.
We made like $500 million in 2017, and I'm like 26, 27, I don't know.
Wow.
You know, and it's like this like emotional roller coaster because you've basically been broke your entire life. And now it's like huge sum of fake money.
Wow.
And then in 2018, we proceeded to lose like all the money, like a lot of money, like basically all of it. So as we're losing the money, you're having like an intellectual crisis because it's like, wow, if I had just walked away or like I've lost this huge sum and what did I lose it for? Like, I don't even believe in this shit. And you kind of see how the sausage is made in tokens. And the more you know, the sleazier and sleazier it is until where you're like, this is bullshit. And so I realized like, okay, wow, I'm going to have lost more money than I could fathom betting on things I don't even believe in. And I'm going to live with regret for the rest of my life. So I was like, okay, we're going to go bankrupt, but at least let's go bankrupt on something that I can look in the mirror and I can say, if I could do it over again, I would do it that way. And so in 2018, we decided to go Bitcoin only. Divested everything that wasn't Bitcoin. We had some media companies that did crypto and blockchain, divested all of it. And then we launched the Bitcoin conference because there was no Bitcoin event in the world. There was really not a Bitcoin only scene. I think we're like maybe the only company or the first company to be like into crypto and then say, okay, actually, we're going to just refocus and prioritize Bitcoin. And so when we did that, our business took off. So we tapped into something that no one really kind of appreciated was there.
2019, more or less?
So yeah,
18,
2019 is when we had the first Bitcoin conference. And everyone was like, you're going to go bust. There is no Bitcoin community. No one wants a Bitcoin conference. You're saying no to 75% of the marketing dollars or 85% of the marketing dollars. And then the first conference happened. It was 2,000 people, and it was electric. It was like really like the vibes, and like a lot of the OG Bitcoiners came out, and they're like, "Oh."
I mean, the conference is business for the last 20 years. When you do a good conference, you know it.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's small, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If the vibe's there, if the energies are there, and the audience comes out of it all electrified, you know you have a continuation. So
I realized then that I had actually never experienced product market fit before. You know, it's like product market fit. I tell people it's like if you don't know you're stoned, you're not stoned. But when you're stoned, you know you're stoned. So it's like, okay, product market fit's the same way. Like if you don't know you have it, you don't have it. But when you have it, you're like, oh shit, like
I have it.
So so then we were just like, okay, more, like just lean into that. And the business, the magazine took off. Bitcoin Magazine, it went from 30,000 Twitter followers to 3 million Twitter followers.
And the circulation, you have print and digital, right?
We do, but the print is just like a collector's item. So it's only in the thousands, single-digit thousands per issue.
But do you print it every month?
Every quarter. So it's just an artifact of what's happening.
It's
good.
It's
good. Amazing.
I love it.
Yeah. And then the conference just took off at this trajectory where it basically became the largest finance conference in the world after 3 years. And so 2022 was like I can go into probably more detail than you want on the different conferences, but
no, do it. Do it.
Like 21 was the first conference back from COVID, what we were talking about earlier. That conference, that's where Bitcoin was announced as legal tender by Bukele. It's where Ross Ulbricht recorded his first ever interview from prison. It's where Ron Paul spoke. He opened up the conference. So very cool event. And then the next year was 26,000 people.
Wow.
And then it was like, okay, now this is like big business. And
then you started going global?
Yeah, and then we're like, okay, we need to take the Bitcoin community to every market. So we started with Europe. This was like our test overseas.
Here or
here? Yeah. So, and we did it here because Bitcoin 2014, which was the last Bitcoin conference to happen, happened in Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. So we were like, okay, Amsterdam would be a cool spot. And then There's a funny backstory of our partners here actually intercepted us, flew to intercept us where we were at somewhere, and they were like pitched us like, if you don't do this deal with us, we're gonna do it, we're gonna grow it, and we're gonna bankrupt you. It was a very bold message. I'm like, okay, I like these guys. So we've done this event 2 years, and we're gonna be expanding the conference to Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. So
Turkey in the Middle East?
We've visited. We're evaluating sites. I think it is like a place I'd love to do it in Istanbul. We really like to blend. Bitcoin is a cultural movement, so we like to blend Bitcoin with culture, history, art, music. It's one of the things that makes the event unique. And so cities like Istanbul is like the perfect place to do it.
And in Asia?
Oh yeah.
Where in Asia?
So we haven't announced it yet. So,
okay, so
it's got to be kept secret.
Okay.
But it's going to be, I think the Asia event is going to end up being maybe bigger than the North American event.
Really?
And so the Bitcoin movement is massive. People do not understand how big it is. And we didn't understand how big it was until...
Please share.
It's just, Bitcoin is the greatest conspiracy in the history of mankind. We've infiltrated every institution in society, every Fortune 500 company, every central bank, every presidential office. There's a Bitcoiner that works inside of every institution.
The biggest Trojan horse.
And all of them are mission aligned with spreading Bitcoin and Bitcoin adoption and the message of Bitcoin. And so we collude together to figure out how can we get your company or your government or your jurisdiction to embrace Bitcoin? How can we help you? And so we kind of don't think of it as a conspiracy, but that's what we're conspiring together. This conference is a meeting of our co-conspirators, and we're talking about how we're going to spread it even further.
Yes.
So, except our conspiracy is based around freedom and capitalism, and it's very exciting. It's like, imagine the most evil, dark, conspiracy, take over the world. Okay, we're like the opposite of that.
Exactly.
It's very cool.
It's a positive conspiracy.
Yeah, it's a positive conspiracy to free humanity.
And that's exactly the antidote that we need for how society and the world looks today, right?
It is the only antidote. Money is how we organize society.
Yes.
And it's very effective at organizing society. Without money, you can't have specialization. Without specialization, you can't have cities. Without cities, you can't truly society, the foundation of society is intrinsically linked with our ability to transact with each other. And so if you don't control that, if one party controls that, then they control the ability to manipulate any part of society. And they manipulate it in a way that benefits them. And you have to remove that power to be able to actually solve the other problems in society. Because as long as someone has that power, any solution you come up with for education or for healthcare or for the military, whatever, they're going to be able to force through their view over your view because they have unlimited resources and you don't. So Bitcoin is the equalizer. Like now they don't have unlimited resources. And now the ideas have to live and die on the merit of the ideas. And maybe they have like some amount of runway before they truly run out of money. But like they're going bankrupt.
Yeah. It's collapsing.
Yeah.
It's falling apart.
And it can't collapse. Like Bitcoin isn't the bubble, it's the needle. Like you can't pop all this. You can't go bankrupt until someone calls you bankrupt. Like until somebody calls the note, you're not bankrupt, all right? Bitcoin's like calling the debt, basically. It's the forcing function that actually makes people pony up. So I'm of the view that Bitcoin's going to cause the biggest financial collapse ever by design. The cool thing about it, so there's so many things to learn about the world from Bitcoin, but there's bull cycles and bear cycles in Bitcoin. You can't have one without the other. You need the bear cycles because the bear cycles are how we wash away the malinvestment and we reallocate resources to those that are actually creating value. So companies cut back all their wasteful spending. They fire unproductive staff. Companies that have a broken model, they go bankrupt. The employees that were good get hired by another company.
That's the cycle.
Everything gets resorted. And then that's what creates the dynamic that can create the next bull cycle, how we go 10x growth or 100x growth. Our economy, our society in the real world, we need that. We need recessions. We need creative destruction to happen to resort resources to those that are creating the most value in society. With central banking, we drag out these recessions decades, maybe. We're still getting over the '08 recession to this day. With Bitcoin, the recession, it hits, it's hard, 1 year,
and then
one year
again.
then we're back.
Yeah.
And we've recovered from every crisis in Bitcoin with no central bank, no bailouts, no one comes and helps us, no one. We're all by our fucking selves.
Yeah.
And every time we build back, 10x better. And in a fraction of the time of the real economy. So our system is getting more and more robust, where like the alternative system is just getting more and more fragile. So I think Bitcoin bringing a financial collapse is really just it clearing the path for us to rebuild our financial system, our society, in a much more effective way, a much better way.
You remind me the natural cycles in nature, right? Of how plants behave, for example. They will die out and new ones will be grown on top of that are better, more equipped to the environment that they're in. That's just the natural course of things in nature.
And Bitcoin is a byproduct of nature. Bitcoin was not invented, it was discovered. So it is a extension of the universe ordering energy in the most optimal way. So, that's competition between all the parts of the ecosystem and living organisms. They have their own economy, we have ours. I'm a big believer that human evolution will cease without something like Bitcoin. We need the competitive environment for the process of evolution to continue to go. If you could freeze the status of the environment, you cease to create the opportunities for the things of the future. So there's this idea of the Kardashev scale. Have you heard of the Kardashev scale? So it's an idea from the 70s, 60s maybe, trying to basically scale civilization, create a standard for measuring civilization by energy consumed. And you can be like type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3 civilization. The first stage in the Kardashev scale is consuming all of the energy resources of your planet. And then the next stage is all of the energy resources of your solar system. And then the next stage is all of the energy resources of your galaxy. Okay, we're a stage 0 civilization right now. Okay, we haven't even tapped what's here. Bitcoin is the mechanism to incentivize the human behavior to go and flourish throughout the solar system and the galaxies. It's like ants finding food or whatever. It's the natural force incentivizing us to go forth and procreate and spread life throughout the solar system. And with Bitcoin, we're going to level up through the Kardashev scale from a type 0 to type 1 to type 2. So
love it.
Anyway, I could go way too deep on this. I'm sorry.
I love it. No, don't apologize. This is great because you're also giving my audience the leads to follow, right? If they want to expand on that, they
if you
go read
want
the
to
book.
expand on that topic,
Yes.
there's a article called Bitcoin Astrology.
Yes.
That's published on this blog, Unchained Capital. It is the most thoroughly researched and deep article on the topic I've ever read. It's 3 parts. And
I'm going to include the link to it in the notes of
fantastic.
the episode.
And
Great.
they
Love
invent
it.
all these new ideas like the center of hash. One limitation of Bitcoin that people don't know is it has a 10-minute block time. Well, the fastest you can send information is the speed of light. So the theoretical threshold of Bitcoin adoption for miners is 10 minutes at the speed of light. Is the farthest away you can be from what's called the center of hash, which is where a block is propagated, if you want to be competitive in the network. Otherwise, you get a block while the next block has already been found. So 10 minutes of light speed takes us like pretty far from Earth. doesn't get all the way to Mars. So there is things that we're going to have to improve about Bitcoin to really go like interplanetary. So anyway.
Well, and if you go to the quantum universe, then you're changing the rules of the game even more. Everything can happen in parallel. There's no space and time, right?
That's right.
Fascinating where you can take this.
You know, this article also, it talks about time itself.
Yes. Oh, I love handling the concept of time. This is one of my favorite things.
It's a positional...
People don't know. I don't talk about it, but I love researching time.
It's a positional relative thing.
Of course.
Okay, how do we tell time between solar systems? Like between galaxies, like how would two people on two different planets have a common sense of time? Bitcoin or blocks, block time, is the only universal form of time. So if I had a block that, took, 1,000 years to mine, okay, everyone within the radius of that block propagation is all on the same calendar, the same time, which is that block time. So it's a cool derivative of time that doesn't involve positioning to be able to measure. It's very cool.
Love it. I love it.
Your audience is like, okay, this is too esoteric. I'm sorry.
No.
All right. I get the sense that you like to talk about controversial topics.
I do.
Let's drill
I'm open to anything, and
let's drill into the controversial topics.
Not censored.
I feel like you can't feel alive if you don't get canceled on a regular basis. So I like to...
I'm canceled as we speak. In Israel right now, people are calling me names and posting tweets about me online because I'm daring to ask tough questions. And they can't handle it. I'm moving their cheese too much.
It's a superpower.
You reckon?
It's a superpower.
Right now it feels like a pain in the butt, but...
it's a superpower.
But yeah, Eva says so as well. She said, you can't be any different. We're the same like that. Like both big mouths.
What are you being canceled for?
I'm saying something's wrong here, and it feels like the people of Israel and the people of Palestine have been sold once again to the higher powers that be, because something has happened here, which obviously is a failure on a mega scale, and there is no plausible explanation for how this could have happened, and we are not receiving any answers for it. And people are dying, and they are going to continue to die in the next few days, weeks. I don't know how long it's going to take. And we need to talk about this now, not whenever it's convenient to them, because we need to know if someone's sacrificing us for the sake of money, energy war. I don't know what is
political.
What
consensus.
are the agendas behind this that are?
No,
and I'm not coming with exclamation marks. I'm coming with question marks. In my opinion, on the behalf of the people of Israel that need to be protected, right?
And be told the truth. So
exactly,
that they can make an
and I'm in
opinion.
pursuit of the truth. Exactly.
Well,
not that I think that I'll ever get a clear answer from anyone, but at least I'm surfacing the questions.
There's nothing more dangerous than the truth.
Yes, exactly.
I feel like the position you have on that, I mean, I guess Bitcoiners are, we maybe have a certain ideological view on the world, but I've heard that feedback from most of my Israeli friends. Everyone's in the IDF at some point. Like
I was.
It doesn't jive with their experience of how it worked. Yeah.
Everyone that has been in the army knows that something stinks here, big time.
Yeah, and I feel like, I feel like they will reveal if there's an agenda. It'll get revealed in the coming days and weeks as we see what their response is. But it definitely feels like things are escalating right now. And it's a very dangerous time in the world. I mean, the Ukraine conflict, I definitely since the beginning of the World War, and times of immense economic change correspond and correlate with times of worldwide conflict.
Yes.
So it makes sense.
Where do you think this connects to one of my questions to you? So maybe let's take it that direction. There is obviously a world order that is being changed now, and we're facing monetary collapse or a change in the monetary system around the world. Where do you think those powers are taking us, or where are they trying to take us? You related to the Ukraine-Russia war. Now there's a conflict in the Middle East, a war in the Middle East. To me, this is a pattern, and it shows a certain direction that they want to take us, but curious to hear your take on where we're going with that new order that they're trying to create.
My general view is that the thing the establishment wants is status quo. They want to maintain their position of power. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like all the policies that they implement to control our media, our education, our financial system, our healthcare system, they're all techniques to address a pain caused from their control. And so they're constantly trying to just fill the gap so that they can maintain the status quo and placate people. And then they have to keep diluting and diluting and diluting the system in order to keep placating and stretching it a little bit further. So I feel like that's like the big picture agenda. And in order to achieve that outcome, anything is justifiable. And I think right now, America, the dollar reserve status, that is the status quo that must be protected at all costs.
The hegemony.
Yes.
They must continue to control the petrodollar.
That's the New World Order that
right.
won last,
yes.
I guess. And that's why I feel like war with China, war with the BRIC nations is an inevitability. And, it's not even on its face ethical for the United States to be able to magically create something out of thin air and steal all the people of the world who use the dollar, their time, their purchasing power, to be wasted on political means. It's like it strikes of Rome. So we've turned every person on the planet into a slave of the U.S. economy, and I think it's indefensible. So anyone who wants to be their own person has to resist it. So China's doing what they should do. I'm not agreeing with their means that they're using to do it, like their approach.
China's doing China.
China's doing China, like as it should be. So many countries in the world that have just become the United States' total satellite state. I mean, it's like Europe. What happened to Europe? It's just like a satellite. We can go blow up the pipelines and wreck the energy markets.
Everyone's saying that Israel is the next star in the American flag. That's the other state.
That's the most important state. The most important state. So it's like
satellite. Yes.
It's such a strange dynamic, but it's not sustainable. So anyway, the foreign policy now is just a byproduct of trying to hold on to that.
Yes.
And it's going to have to escalate even more. And unless you're willing to accept, unless China's willing to accept being just the permanent subservient to America, then they're going to have to, at some point in time, say no. Mm-hmm. And that's what I feel like is happening. But the big, I guess, curveball that no one saw coming was Bitcoin. And we're going to implode all the fiats all at the same time. And it's really going to reset everything. So, the New World Order is actually Bitcoin. We're the New World Order. And it's very optimistic for the world. So I'm pro New World Order.
Yeah, I'm with you. In a way, obviously a collapse will bring about a lot of suffering for a lot of people. But at the same time, if the Bitcoin community, it is here. It is here already for the past year, tens of years even. It's here. And I think humanity wakes up when it gets a big slap in the face. And there's always an opportunity. Now there are more and more opportunities to wake up for various reasons. I said it yesterday on stage when I talked about CBDC. My journey was red pilling to orange pilling, right? I first woke up to other lies like the big pharma and the big tech and the big money. And my journey from there to Bitcoin was very fast and natural.
Once you see through the matrix, it all...
Right.
You see through it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you don't,
you can't.
Then you're going to get that lesson. This is karma again and again and again until you get it. Or you don't and you just die not getting it.
Yeah.
So I think that humans have this opportunity again and again to understand the bigger game at play. It's only up to them how courageous they are to look truth in the face and accept that they have been misled or wrong, or someone has manipulated them, and say, okay, I'm putting down, my ego and my defenses, and I'm open. bring it on. I'm open to learn. And then start discovering Bitcoin, start discovering real sovereignty, start discovering creation again.
Yep.
And entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And how you bring about capitalism in the form that it could look like, and it maybe never have looked like that before.
Yep.
But with Bitcoin, we have a real opportunity to build life again in a totally different way.
I think, again, I don't want to get too heady for your audience. In some ways, like Bitcoin, not to offend anyone, but it's like a religious movement. But I actually feel like we don't really understand what religion is. It's like religion is almost like the original countercultural movements against the power structure. They use memes and they use iconography. Like they simplify the message in a format that someone doesn't have to be like a historian to know all the depth of the religion they follow. They can just follow the highlights. But if you follow the lessons, they give you some competitive advantage in life. Okay, if you don't lie and cheat and steal from a whole bunch of people, you're going to do better in life.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And you're going to live a happier life.
Yeah.
And people get that, and they emulate that behavior. Okay? So, Bitcoin, it has a certain belief system to it, but because of...
I would even say principles more than
exactly.
beliefs.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Yeah,
Freedom,
principles.
sovereignty, like
Right. Capitalism.
capitalism. Yeah.
Math. Because of the number go up part of it, there's only 21 million Bitcoins. Bitcoin literally brings prosperity to the people that hold it. Not just the principles that you learn like along the way, which most people don't have those principles when they get into Bitcoin to start with. They come for the number go up, and they stay for the revolution.
Yes.
And you really only can appreciate these ideas when you've had enough life experience. You've seen it to embrace it. But I found that when people have prosperity, they feel optimistic about the future of the world, and they make a different decisions and lifestyle choices than they do when they live in poverty or fear of the future.
Yes.
So you'll notice like the children per capita of Bitcoiners,
Yeah.
way higher.
Way higher?
Way higher.
Did you do any statistics about it? On
there's
Bitcoin Magazine?
no
You got to
studies.
do
I
a
will
survey.
we
You got to
should.
do a survey.
Because
Wow.
when you have the resources, you're not afraid of having a child. It's like, okay,
Correct.
bring on the risk.
Yes.
Bring on the unknown.
Yes.
And so many people are afraid of the unknown because they don't have the margin for error. They don't have the self-confidence. They don't think tomorrow will be better.
You know how many people I speak to that tell me, why bring a child to the world right now?
Yes.
Is this the world we want to live in?
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a death mindset.
Yes.
And that's the mindset of fiat.
Yes.
That's the mindset of slavery, know?
Yes.
And so Bitcoin brings this prosperity mindset, this eagerness to go and manifest the world that you want to see. And I think that people will not necessarily have the patience to learn all the intellectual background of Bitcoin, but they'll see people prosper and they'll want to emulate that. Just like they want to emulate having a healthy family dynamic at the church they go to. And so I think...
From the moment I opened up and started talking about Bitcoin to people around me, they all got interested. And they don't have any intention to go and read all the books that I read and follow all the podcasts that I follow, but you just...
It's there if they want to, though.
Of course.
Right.
But it's just lead by example. Show them that you're adopting something that is good. Even if they don't dig into it, at least they can understand, like you said, the high-level principles of it. And
this is my fourth bear cycle. So I've actually I know many, many people that knew me at the first bear cycle, and their impression of what I was doing, and their impression of this whole thing,
Yeah.
and then what their impression was by the second bear cycle.
yeah,
And then it's typically most people, if they knew me in the first and the second, by the third cycle that I talked to them, they're involved in it. Because now the change they've seen in Bitcoin, they've been there, they can only sit on the sideline and watch that for so long before they're like, I need to be a part of this. And so now, okay, fast forward another cycle, it's like, okay, again, it's a journey. So people start off skeptical, as you should. and then you tiptoe deeper and deeper in, and then at some point in time you hit like a switch where it's like, I have more confidence in this system, in the capitalist system, in the free market system, in the math system with no politicians, than I do in the political system.
Okay, wait, I've got to ask you something. You're choosing to have, in this conference and in previous conferences, people like Edward Snowden, Julian Assange's wife, Stella Assange, which is amazing in my view, and also people like Eva Waldo, I will never say her surname correctly, Vlad Dingelbrook. Vlad Dingelbrook.
I don't know how to say it.
So Eva, my friend, and even myself, right? We're all dissident in a way, dissident voices. We were all red-pilled first, and then orange-pilled. And this path of awakening from red to orange, for me, is very natural. But how do you see people joining this community? How can we take them on through this path? And why do you make the choices that you make to bring people like that to the conferences?
Okay, so first off, every person is ready for Bitcoin when they're ready for it. Okay, so I really don't try to force anyone to be interested in it, because like I know they'll eventually be interested in it. So it's like, okay, maybe not this cycle, but in 4 years from now, 8 years from now, the biggest skeptic will be interested. So just let them come in their time. You know, it's interesting. Like, y'all have a certain perspective. Maybe y'all would call it red-pilled. But I also interact with people from who would consider themselves the exact opposite on the political spectrum. I don't know if you consider yourself conservative, but they would.
I don't consider myself anything politically these days.
Good,
it's like
good,
there's no left and right
Yeah.
in my opinion. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
There are so many illusions. I'm a free person, free mind, free heart, loving heart, sovereign.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Well,
Believe in spirituality, creation, you know, God, whatever you call it.
Well, every person, all people are basically the same. And people are passionate about certain things that they're very frustrated by. And they're able to find ways that Bitcoin can be a solution to the thing they're passionate about.
Yes.
And then that becomes a great uniter. And so, you know, Bitcoin is the only thing where I have many Ukrainian friends that love Bitcoin, and I have many Russian friends that love Bitcoin. You know, I have many Israeli friends that love Bitcoin. I have many Palestinian, Lebanese Bitcoiners that love Bitcoin. So I think it's not just for one political side that is attracted to it. I do think conservatives in general have been punished pretty disproportionately, maybe, over the past decade or two. And so there's just a lot of dissidents on that side. Yeah. So we want to be a platform for people that are seeking freedom. And, you know,
Exactly.
RFK, so we orange-pilled RFK, okay? And
Who's we? I'm curious. Who is you and whom? Like a team of people, like, we got to get this guy orange pilled.
okay, so yes.
Yes,
wow. There are like, yeah, where it's a conspiracy. Again, it's like,
I love
okay,
it.
we got to get this guy. But so you remember the truckers' protest? Okay, so when that went down, we were given a call, a heads up. Hey, there's this truckers' protest going down. They're canceling their bank accounts. They need money. So we organized with some other Bitcoiners a fundraising effort to get Bitcoin to the truckers. And they were on the ground delivering the actual money.
That's the only money that got to them. You're
on
behind that too. Woo!
So we raised the money. My Bitcoin wallet is actually on a list in Canada of people like, I think they called it terrorism. I think terrorism financing. or something.
Trudeau's
Yeah.
after you.
Yeah. So we got the Bitcoin to them, and then that was like this inspirational moment for the world.
Yeah.
The truckers were
Amazing.
amazing. That's an emotional thing. You get me talking about.
Of course.
But
you know, we did a convoy in Israel as well in February last 2022. Yes.
Was it effective?
It was, in the sense that 50,000 people joined.
Oh, wow.
And 20,000 vehicles joined, but there was zero mainstream media coverage. And I
course.
did PR for it, like on my own with friends. We did a PR cell that just worked with the overseas media, with the foreign media. and we got Reuters to cover it.
Cool.
And they came with drones, and they did a full-blown cover of it, and then all the foreign media covered it, but Israel, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'll tell you about it later.
So that was like this inspirational moment. So RFK, who cares deeply about
Freedom.
bodily autonomy,
Yeah.
saw that,
Yeah.
and he was like, if you don't control your money, you don't have the ability to protest.
Correct.
And if you don't have the ability to protest, you're not free.
Correct.
So therefore, if you don't control your own money, you're not free. And with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is something that they were able to use outside of the state, that means that if you don't have Bitcoin, you're not free. And so therefore,
He got to that conclusion. Nice.
I mean, they were seizing people's bank accounts and shutting it down. So I mean, the path wasn't that far away, but he came to that conclusion, and he said it was very profound. Like, this is why we need Bitcoin. Forget everything else about it. It's like, we can't be free if we don't have Bitcoin. And so I'm pro Bitcoin. And it's like, okay, there you go. So then we helped, give him a platform, connect him with people that are very well educated on the topic, so he can be informed with accurate information. And we don't want to oversell Bitcoin.
Because he's a very smart guy, and he does
smart.
his research really well on everything.
I didn't really know anything about RFK 2 years ago.
He's an amazing guy.
Other than every person I knew said he was a kook. Every person in the real world.
I have some doubts about him about certain topics, but in general, I think his heart is in the right place, and he just needs to be educated about certain things that he may not get all the way to the end. He's amazing.
My new rule is anytime everyone has a consensus view on something, automatically the opposite. So I meet him for the first time. His knowledge is insane.
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm not a political person, but after he spoke at the conference, it felt like in that moment when he's announcing his policies, it felt like, holy shit, this is like history happening right here.
It is. Him saying that he will ban CBDC if he gets elected, and that he will make Bitcoin legal tender is history in the making. It doesn't matter if it happens or not. I mean, it probably won't happen because he won't be elected, but this is it. This is the first step.
Yes. And the fact that it's a Kennedy, it feels like
symbolic.
A historical, like it's
completely.
So very, very, very cool.
You should be proud of that.
Of course.
Well done.
I'm just excited to be there.
Of course, take part in something like that.
Just to see it,
Yeah.
wow. But
tell me one word about Snowden and Assange, which are such important voices in the world in general, and they don't get the stage, and you give it to them. Like, what drives you guys to do that? Many people who listen may not know why it is critical to bring those voices to the forefront.
Well, first off, they embodied the principles of Bitcoin, but both of them are pioneers of Bitcoin, and they both used Bitcoin in the way that Bitcoin was intended to be used, to be a dissident and to do things that you're not going to be allowed to do with money as we know it today.
And to undertake censorship.
Correct. So with Snowden, he paid for the servers that he leaked the documents on using Bitcoin.
Amazing.
Because he couldn't do it with a credit card.
Amazing.
With Julian, when all the credit card companies shut down donations, he accepted Bitcoin. The amount of Bitcoin that they received in donations actually has fed WikiLeaks for quite a while. I think they're still actually funded off of the original Bitcoin that was sent in. So they are living testaments to the power of Bitcoin, the message of Bitcoin. They're martyrs for freedom. The story that they have needs to be remembered throughout time.
And it's way more important than any differences in views.
Correct.
Right? What they represent.
Correct.
Is the ultimate fight of humanity for freedom and for creating something new.
Snowden and Julian inspired hundreds of millions of people around the world.
100%.
So, I mean, we will get them out, both of them, we will get pardoned within 10 years. We're getting closer and closer. Every
that.
cycle, we get closer and closer.
I pray for that.
10 years, we'll get it done. CBDCs.
Yes.
You don't need to be worried about them.
Say more.
They're
but say more for the audience.
They're going to flop and fail right out of the gate.
Yeah.
They're never going to get any traction. In any form that they do get traction, they actually don't need to be CBDCs. It's just kind of the same as what we have now, except they're forcing you to do certain things.
Yes.
So they don't understand why cryptocurrency is valuable. They think it's a technology thing. So they're like, oh, if we tokenize our fiat, people will like it.
Yeah.
They don't get that the whole reason we want this is to get rid of them. Like we're rejecting their monetary policy. And so they're clueless. And they're going to be like, why does no one want this thing? It's dead on arrival. And I've seen many countries.
I love that battlefield, that little battlefield of CBDC and Bitcoin. It's like there's no equation. You can't even compare.
Yeah.
That's what I said on the panel. I said CBDC is not a threat to Bitcoin. It's a threat to freedom. But CBDC is the booster and the accelerator of Bitcoin, if anything else. This is the opportunity for the Bitcoin community to start bringing on more and more people in because they're afraid of CBDC.
Right.
Just bring them on.
Well, so we've seen many nations try to do CBDCs.
Yeah.
They all fail.
Of course.
But no one puts out a press release, oh, our thing failed. So
of
they
course
just
not.
sweep it under the rug and they're like, oh, well, it's this experiment.
But we write about it. Don't worry about that. We're here to cover.
So like literally, they've all failed already. It's not like it's something we're wondering about. And then with like Tether, they look at Tether and they're like, oh, wow, that's been so successful. People must want it. And it's like, okay, what they don't realize is Tether is just like regulatory arbitrage. People are using it in order to bypass reporting requirements, taxes. So like all the things they want us to use their currency for is the reasons people use Tether to bypass. So it's like, oh, like they don't get it. They don't get it. And of course they don't get it. But
where do people follow you if they want to learn more from you?
Bitcoin Magazine or
But you.
Twitter.
Do you talk on Twitter? Do you do a lot?
Too much.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So Twitter.
Yeah.
And then Bitcoin Magazine and the conferences, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Where's the next conference?
So the next conference is in Nashville, Tennessee.
July?
Yeah. So
July
that's our big one.
2024.
But we have one we're going to be announcing for Asia that we're not ready to announce yet. That might happen.
Before that?
Before.
Okay, great.
So, we're bringing the Bitcoin conference to every part of the world. We're building the biggest movement in the world. And again, this is where the New World Order is born. We're building the New World Order.
People don't know because they're not here with us, but I have spoken to my friends that came with me from Israel, and we have an Israeli delegation here in the conference. And the first thing they told me is, everyone's so nice. Like, the atmosphere is so down to earth. It doesn't matter who you speak to, a speaker, a big person. It's like, it's all down to earth.
Yeah.
And the vibe is so good and welcoming, and everyone feels at home. It just feels really great. And
well, status means less in Bitcoin because the no-name person who's 13 years old from Pakistan, when all the barriers get removed, can do more than you can.
Of course.
So it's like
keeps you humble.
Yeah. But there's still a lot of ego in Bitcoin, so let's not.
Of course, but yeah, I mean, I always encourage people to go in and do some internal work.
Yeah.
Always, it's a never-ending lesson in life. So, what's your message to drive people to action and give them some hope?
Bitcoin is a revolution, an idea whose time has come, and it literally cannot be stopped. There's nothing the powers that be can do to prevent this from happening. Now it just matters how quickly it happens, and that's what we all here get to affect. But to stop Bitcoin is to stop the progression of life itself.
Yes.
And they don't have the power to do that. They don't have the power to stop Bitcoin, and it's inevitable that freedom and capitalism win the day. So, and I think it happens in our lifetime. In our lifetime, Bitcoin will be the currency of all of humanity. We call that hyper-Bitcoinization. So, we'll see how long it takes.
I love it, David. I love it. Amen to that. And I think it's very important for people to be aware that it cannot be stopped.
If
It doesn't matter what they
if
try.
it could be stopped, we'd be fucked.
I think it would have happened already if it was possible. It's just not possible.
It's just not possible. Trust in life, trust in capitalism, trust in math, short politicians. Yeah, I mean, it's just so simple. It's so simple. Long math, short politician.
Love it.
And if you're skeptical about Bitcoin, there are websites that you can go to called faucets where you can get a penny of Bitcoin for free. Download a wallet, get a free penny of Bitcoin. All you have to spend is 20 minutes of your life learning about what it is, and then you're plugged into it. Maybe in a very small way, but you're plugged in. And then as soon as you do that step, you'll be able to follow along over time what's happening, and you'll tiptoe deeper and deeper and deeper into the system until before long you're all in.
David,
All right.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
I loved our conversation.
Hey, cool podcast.
Yes, thank you. Not censored, dear.
Good luck with your cancel party.